That's one of the biggest stories of our time. So is this one. Big tech has become the greatest threat to Americans' privacy and personal freedoms. But now Americans seem to be wising up to that. A new survey finds that Americans trust Facebook less than any other company. Also, a growing number of Americans are seeking treatment for tech addiction as they find themselves unable to look away from social media, their smartphones or video games. Tom Kersting is a family therapist and the author of Disconnected, How to Reconnect Our Digitally Distracted Kids. I've read that book, and so should you. And he joins us now. Just to go with the Tucker, the big story of our time thing, when you look at this so-called tech addiction, and you follow where that leads, you do worry that in some ways these rinky-dinky little things that started as cat video sites are somehow basically rewiring humanity.
They are. I mean, if we looked out the back window right now and counted how many people were walking by staring at their phones, you'd probably have 70% of them doing that. And when it comes to addiction, which obviously I've studied in my background, basically, if anything, whether it's gambling, alcohol, drugs, anything that's considered addictive, if it's affecting one of the following four, you could be diagnosed as an addict. And the four things are: is it affecting your family? Is it affecting your health? Is it affecting your job or your occupation? And is it affecting, have you had any legal issues?
Right.
And when we look at technology, we could check off each one of those for many, many people. So therefore, this whole addictive, whether it's a debate or not, I'm all about, I believe, 100%.
The difference being, though, that it's actually being kind of organized on a global scale with billions and billions of people. And when you look at children, like middle schoolers who've never known anything but this world, their behavior does seem to be not where middle schoolers were 20, 50, 70 years ago. It's
actually unbelievable. I tell people I get more middle school age kids with major anxiety disorders per year now in my private practice than I did the previous 17 years combined.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you could put, all the research is starting to show that, starting to point to, you know, the absorption of social media, the lack of self, the lack of a sense of self, and so forth, and how it's affecting the self-esteem and causing, you know, issues with anxiety, depression, and other mental health things. People do actually seem to prefer it, though. You have a scene in your book where you talk about when you were a young guy just sitting at a bar, you'd never know who's on the bar stool next. I could relate to that. Sometimes you find yourself on the other side of the world, you're sitting next to an Australian, a Hungarian, you meet different people with different views. Now everyone in the bar is just like scrolling the phone. Well, you go into the airport, if you travel, which, you know, you do, I do, they have the screens in front of every bar stool. So like you and I, instead of hanging out talking with one another and kicking it off, now everybody's distracted by these devices. Right. So sometimes you want to go where only Facebook knows your name. So it's like bottles of wine dangling around. If you're an alcoholic 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can't escape from it. Yeah, that's a worrying thing. As I said, I think this is one of the biggest stories of our time, Tom. I dread to think where we're going to be if we don't change it. But how do we change it? Well, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. We just have to keep creating awareness, having conversations like you and I are having right now, so that people could see this, they can understand the ramifications of these things. I'm one of the guys out there, you know, that's lecturing, that's writing about it, and that's out there trying to get other people to do the same. And it's going to be a slow process, but I think we're going to have to get there. Okay, well, we will hold you to that, Tom, because these companies are bigger than countries.